The internet has been abuzz the last week or so after Jordan Peterson announced he would be formally debating Slavoj Zizek, or at least the sad, weird parts of the internet I frequent. And while I understand the vicarious thrill of seeing your favourite old philosophy frogman throw down the proverbial gauntlet, I can't help but be completely jaded about the whole event and, as I'm sick, figured I would bloviate and rain on some parades. Right off the bat, I'd like to point out that tickets for this event are not cheap, currently selling for $1,000 and being scalped for a similar price on eBay. What this means is that both Peterson and Zizek have a shared vested interest here, to look good, to make the people who bought the tickets happy. They're both big personalities and internet golden boys in their respective circles, each with their own set of fans willing to shell out for the opportunity to see them own the other one. It's for this exact reason that I don't think anyone will be getting owned, however. It would be a terrible move on the part of either Zizek or Peterson to charge through the nose for the chance to see them speak if there was even a possibility of them getting completely steamrolled, blindsided by an argument, or otherwise made to appear unprepared. The fans would feel ripped off and, equally importantly, it would hurt their brand. Remember that these men don't just have ideas they want to sell you, they also have YouTube channels, videos, movies, books, and future event tickets. Losing to the enemy is not a way to promote a brand. The primary purpose of this debate, above all else, is to make money. If either of them really cared about owning the other, they could just hop on a stream or even, God forbid, debate at any university for free. Nowhere would turn this down. And this isn't out of the ordinary for either of them either. They are internet pop stars in their own weird way. Peterson loves being as memeable as possible and isn't afraid to bring up his book every now and then. Zizek is someone who, don't get me wrong, the man is still a Marxist, definitely isn't above appearing in videos with very checkmate socialist premises and understands the importance of clickbaity titles, which, by the way, hi, have you ever been to my YouTube channel before? Please like, comment and subscribe, I've been doing this for a year. So, what form do I think the debate will take? Well, I don't want to sound too much like a conspiracy theorist here, but it wouldn't surprise me if the two went over what they'd be talking about beforehand, along with the points they would make and refute together. This is not only to avoid blindsiding one another, but also to keep the event within a tight time frame. Zizek cannot blather on and tell amusing anecdotes the way he normally does, and Peterson cannot pause for thought for 45 uninterrupted seconds straight. Not if they want to keep people in the seats invested, that is. I don't think any question will come particularly out of left field, and I don't think we'll see either party stumped or trip over themselves. Don't expect any weird gaffes from Zizek like this.
They embraced me and they told me, you can call me nigger. You know, when they tell you this, it means...
Or any weird digressions from Peterson like this.
Well, you can stop smoking without any sort of supernatural intervention.
No, not really.
You can't stop smoking without supernatural?
There aren't really any reliable chemical means for inducing smoking cessation. You can use a drug called bupropion. I think that's the one. It's whatever Wellbutrin is.
Is that supernatural?
No.
Similarly, to avoid the appearance of there being a clear winner, I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow managed to funnel the discourse in a direction they both agreed upon, their shared distaste for postmodern deconstructionism, for instance, or, at the very least, if the debate ended on such a note. And now, I'd like to broadly talk for a minute about the limitations and purpose of debate in general, starting with the internet's favourite topic: raw, sexy data. I may not be an expert in absolutely anything, but I am a researcher and I do pride myself on my ability to see through data's manipulation and misuse, and nowhere is that more rife than in formal debate. For humans, statistics and data hold an immense gut punch kind of power. They're used when the speaker essentially wants to say, this is a fact, you can't argue with it. And this quite often segues into, and it's a problem, and I have the solution, or, and it's good, and it's because of me and all my beliefs. The problem with this though is that these people, fucking lie. In a debate, there is typically not an official fact-checker present to real-time look up every statistic cited and source quoted. There is just you, your opponent, and the room, that nebulous collection of feelings you're trying to scare or bamboozle over to your side. What matters about a statistic when you throw it out isn't its truthfulness or even its relevance to the topic at hand, but its immediate value in ensnaring that room full of feelings. A speaker says CO2 emissions have fallen by 12% in the USA in the last 10 years. This is obvious dog shit, but if you pepper that figure into a larger point in a debate, it acts like a kind of magnifying glass, validating everything around it. And if your opponent knows it isn't true, well, consider what their options are. They can call you out on it, in which case they're using their time to speak on what most people would consider a nitpick, or they can provide their counter data, if they have some prepared, in which case it becomes a he said she said scenario to the audience, in which the refuter doesn't does not have the luxury of having spoken first. It makes much more sense just to move on and make your next point. And in the rare occurrence that the misuse of data is called out, the liar could just say, well, that's not the study I read, and fuck, you can't disprove they didn't read a study somewhere. Even being generous, it's often the case that the data and statistics aren't as simple as we'd like them to be. London has a higher violent crime rate than New York, right? Here are the numbers, case closed. Except the definition of violent crime is overall much broader in the UK, including things like harassment. Additionally, the methods in which data is gathered and reported on is incredibly different between the cities. This data also ignores overall trends in violent crime, fatalities, and a million other factors that initial comparison and image in your head leaves out. These are all nuances and factors that someone might not even think of when they read the data or bring up the number, but they're nuances that mean a difference. And, by the way, with this example, I'm not trying to say that London doesn't have a higher violent crime rate than New York. All I'm saying is that when you bring a number like this up, the burden is on you to make sure that you understand what you're saying and what the numbers actually mean. This turns statistics and data into a kind of magic wand of sorts. The numbers to wave around after you make a statement in order to convert a listener's apathy into curiosity. And it works. For just one example, during the Nigerian vice presidential TV debate last year, nearly every statistic politician Peter Obi cited was an exaggeration or outright fabrication. He claimed that Nigeria had only 2 million vehicles in it when it has nearly 12 million, that manufacturing makes up 40% of Malaysia and Indonesia's GDP when it's closer to 20% for both, and the outrageous claim that Nigeria's poor population was growing by 6% every minute, which, if true, would mean there would be more poor Nigerians on Earth than other human beings. But even with all this in mind, there are people who are swayed by these very arguments and would call Obi the winner of that debate. So, if we can't trust numbers, we can at least trust the form of argument itself, right? Well, there are many common truisms when it comes to debate and argument that I don't believe are necessarily true, especially not when it comes to generalizing human behavior, but all the same have conquered the etiquette and how we think about debating so much that they may as well be true. Or, to simplify, whether the advice is true or not, everyone is following it. The most common of these truisms, and the one you're most likely to have heard of, is, if you're explaining, you're losing, attributed to Ronald Reagan. This quote intrinsically makes a certain kind of sense. When a speaker begins to spend their time justifying the points they've already made or explaining things that need clarification, they've started to lose the room, and their opponent has gained control of the conversation. The thing about this quote is it presupposes the important aspect of the debate is not to share your ideas or factual information in as clear and honest a way as possible, it's to win. Really think about this quote. If there is a better way to win than being honest and explaining your positions, then that is the route that must be taken. I don't think it's hard to imagine plenty of situations where you or your ideas may be accused of something untrue and a defense is necessary. Similarly, there are plenty of ideas that may need to be clarified upon further questioning, in which case an explanation is necessary. If you care about the truth, that is. In a debate where you simply do not want to lose, the truth is secondary. This quote isn't everything wrong with formal debate, obviously, but I think it kind of cuts to the core of the problem. If debate has a win state and achieving that win justifies the means, then you have no obligation to be upfront with your own beliefs, to tell the truth, or even engage with what your opponent actually believes or says. There aren't just books written on the topic, there are entire fields of study where techniques are refined and experimented with. Tactics like never explaining yourself, staying aggressive, asking your opponent leading questions you have a rebuttal prepared for, etc., etc. And at this point, I have to ask, if debate is just a series of language games separate from beliefs, then why the fuck do we care which of these two old farts wins? In the end, it proves nothing about what either of these people actually believe. Why should we care who can execute the debate code best? There is a chance I'll be proven completely wrong in my pessimistic outlook of the debate, however, and I would love that, seriously, I would. It would be a welcome surprise if there was an unequivocal winner in a debate in which both parties engaged with, understood, and respected the other points made in such a way as to actually change the other person's mind. I also don't want to imply that debate will have no value whatsoever, it's just that the value is more performative than anything else. It's cheering your team on, which can be cathartic. Just know that when you picture a paid-for debate in your head, you are not going to be getting the Council of Nicaea. You're going to be getting WrestleMania. Hello everybody, thank you for making it to the end of the video, along with putting up with my sick, sad voice. If you liked what you saw, please do feel free to give a like, share, subscribe, comment, you know, the good stuff. And a big thank you to my now 1,000 subscribers. That is, yeah, more stuff in a couple weeks. And you know, now that I'm sick, I need a show to binge. How about 2018's Heathers? I'm sure there won't be anything intrinsically vile or abhorrent that would make me feel compelled to make a 30-minute waffling video about it. Let's have a look, shall we?